This message is brought to you by the Capital One Venture X card. Venture X offers the premium benefits you expect, like a $300 annual Capital One travel credit for less than you expect. Elevate your earn with unlimited double miles on every purchase, bringing you one step closer to your next dream destination. Plus, enjoy access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. The Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details. This message comes from Capital One Commercial Bank. Your business requires commercial banking solutions that prioritize your long-term success. With Capital One, get a full suite of financial products and services tailored to meet your needs today and goals for tomorrow. Learn more at CapitalOne.com/commercial. Member FDIC.
This is Talkin' Rock. Talkin' Rock. Your backstage pass to some of your favorite rock artists. Here's your host, Meltdown.
It's always great to catch up with John Bush. It's kind of funny. I've really become friends with John over the past few years. He's always been the nicest guy, and for whatever reason, we've always been cordial to each other, but we have mutual friends. And last year I found out that his son was playing a hockey tournament here, and I'm like, John, let me come by and watch the game. He's like, absolutely, you can. And so I did. And it was great. I sat next to John for an hour and a half or so, watched his kid play hockey. And, we're both hockey dads and stuff, so we both kind of, relate to that kind of stuff. But one thing, John, is that I'm definitely not is a rock star. Of course, he's a singer of Armored Saint. Their new record's called Emotion Factory Reset. 48 minutes of the Saint. If you're looking for it on vinyl or whatnot, John explains why some of the songs are shorter than your typical Armored Saint record. We talk about certain songs, even one that has something to do with Ohio, which I was a little miffed at. I asked him how much is left. How much did they leave on the floor? We talked about his career, if he changed anything, what they got going on in 2026 for the rest of the year, 2027, and more. They got a big tour, by the way, coming up, Armored Saint and Metal Church. That comes up this fall as well. So lots to get to with John Bush from Armored Saint, and it starts right now. John and I just talking here like on the phone or something, but
yeah, which we do.
Yeah, with kids sports and all sorts of stuff. How you doing there?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good. How does it feel to release a record?
It's a rad accomplishment. It's a nice achievement all these years later. And anytime you do it, you feel like, all right, we did it. It's a little daunting because, and as a parent, it's kind of like watching your kid grow up and like take those first couple steps. And, or at this point, it's like for me, it was watching my kid get his first car and making sure he doesn't crash. But, because you're so close to making a record, you're writing it, you're recording it, you're demoing, you're doing all the things. And then at some point when it's complete and you have the artwork and everything's done and you're mastered, you got to let it go. And then it's up to the public, and then it's theirs. It's no longer yours. It's theirs, which is great, of course. But, it's all you need is one bad review and you're like, ah.
Well, it's funny. It's like, hey, John, what is your favorite song? Where they're like my kids. I love them all. Well, I have a favorite kid, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. No, you can't. I mean, that's why I was saying that to somebody recently about choosing albums or whatever like that. I'm like, you can't. I can't, because it's like picking your favorite kid. But and I mean, I want every record to feel different. That's really our goal in Armored Saint, at least, is to try to like make every record kind of be a snapshot of time during that time when you were writing it, right? And every year is different. And certainly it's different now. I mean, when Punching the Sky, our last one came out, that was 2020, it was COVID. So it was a very different time. So, and then, obviously 1984 was a long time ago, and a lot different time. It looked a little different, but, embrace it.
Yeah. Before we get into the record here, I just saw it say that you're going out on tour, mostly in the middle of the country in the West Coast with the guys from Metal Church. That's cool.
It's going to be great. Those guys are really cool. Dave Ellison's in Metal Church now. Kurt and us go way back, and we've done some shows together. We're going to do some in Europe, and it just made sense. They have a new record, and we're both kind of from the 80s, so it just is very logical for us to do some stuff. They're actually playing. They've already committed to doing some East Coast and a couple Midwest shows.
Okay.
And that's why we can't go back to those areas too soon, because they'll have already just played it. So
Yeah, that's right. I think Metal Church is going to be coming through here. Yeah, Dave, I texted him when I was talking to you, and he wanted me to say hello first of all. And he said you sang on one of his songs in 1993.
I did. I sang it. I did a demo with Dave. I don't remember what was. It was '93. Okay. So I guess it was. Maybe I was. Yeah, I was obviously probably in Anthrax at that point. But he asked me to do like this demo that he was doing, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come over and do it. I think I felt like I was recording it in his apartment or somebody's apartment. And this was a long time ago, prior to having people having Pro Tools and all that stuff. So I don't recall where exactly the scenario was, but it was a fun song, and he put it out on like one of his solo albums or something. Yeah. And Dave's great. I've known Dave for a long time, and we do the Metal Legion thing together. And he's just a no frills guy. He's a great dude, obviously.
Yeah, If You Were God, that was the song he sang.
If You Were God, that's right. Yeah, it was his tune. I just sang it, but it was cool. It was fun.
Yeah, the Metal Legion thing. You wanted me to ask you about that. So, how much fun is doing that? That's kind of just a loosey goosey thing.
Yeah, it's pretty loose. It usually is in conjunction with the NAMM show every year in Anaheim, and we have done other shows, including we did Rock in Rio, which was off the charts. I mean, that was insane. Probably one of the biggest shows I've ever played. So that was kind of a rare thing, but. Usually, like I said, it's a show in association with the NAMM Fest convention every year in Anaheim. But it's fun, it's a bunch of different guys. We play a combination of some cover tunes and some original tunes because they've made a couple records, and everybody's just a veteran. So whether it's Skolnick or Mike Portnoy or Dave or Andreas from Sepultura and Phil Demmel, it's just a bunch of rad musicians getting together. Nobody's got egos. Chuck Billy, you name it. Everybody's just a bud, and it's a lot of fun, and the fans are always into it.
Yeah. Well, the record came out, Emotion Factory Reset, and of course that phrase is dropped during the first song, Close to the Bone, which talk about a ripper to open up an album. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I guess we were thinking, if somebody hadn't heard Armored Saint before or ever, or recently, what should we kind of introduce them with? And Close to the Bone felt like the appropriate song. So, it sounds like vintage Saint, but it sounds like Saint that came out 26. So that's really kind of the objective always, is to make something sound kind of modern, but without, changing the style and the sound of the band. We're not trying to imitate, a band that just came out in the last couple of years, because that would be dumb, quite frankly. And we want to do our thing, but we want it to sound modern in the sense that, it just sounds like it came out now. And I think we achieved that.
So was there ever a point in the recording process where you're like, no, this kind of sounds like this, or did change it up? Did any of the guys, bring other ideas? Or like Lars one time said, this sounds too stock.
Too stock. That's great. That's funny. Well, you got to check yourself, especially when you've been around for a long time and you've written a lot of songs. And for me, it's making sure I'm not repeating something, repeating a lyric, or repeating, a melody that maybe appeared like on an Anthrax record that I did, or anywhere, whatever. So like I'm always going, does that sound familiar? Or even sounding like another band, obviously. So I think that's the key when you've written a lot of songs. You want to make sure that it sounds unique to the circumstances. So that's the important thing. I think we're pretty honest with anything we do in Armored Saint. And Joey Vera, he's an awesome producer and songwriter and orchestrator, and he's very, he's militant to some degree, and a little bit of a control freak, which you kind of have to be when you're a leader of the band. And so he's just very meticulous in the way he does things. And he's calling everybody out, including himself. And we're just making sure that, it's the highest quality and pushing the boundaries. I mean, we want to challenge our fan base. We want to say, hey, we incorporated this sound on this song. We think you can swallow it. Here it is, or, this arrangement is a little bit unusual. We think it works, we're doing it. So we're not asking people's permission. We're just we're writing songs, but in the end, you want to make sure people can relate, and it seems to work out well. We tried to make songs a little shorter on this album. It was kind of requested by a record company, Metal Blade. They're like, "Come on, man, just a little shorter." And it would be great to have like it all in one vinyl, so we're not like, because two vinyls cost more money, and it's just not cost effective. So I think we were able to do that, but yet still kind of have these kind of. It sounds like elaborate arrangements at times, but it really isn't. So that's the little twist.
One of the songs I thought that stuck out by its diversity, or maybe it stuck out just by how different it was Ladders and Slides.
Yeah, it's a cool song. It has almost like this rival son feel to it, which is a great band. I love that band. Jay is an awesome singer, it's not like Armored Saint has always kind of had these kind of bluesy extensions of things we did. I mean, it goes back to Over the Edge on Delirious Nomad. That was very bluesy, and a song like The Truth Always Hurts, which was on Simple Salvation. So I don't think it's a stretch for us. I mean, we love that kind of thing. We're, the blues are important to us, and we're really a bluesy garage band at our core. We're a metal band and we're a hard rock band, of course, but we can do that, and we can pull it off. And Joey and Gonzo are like this great rhythm tandem where they just groove. They can really groove, and a little different from the average bass player and drummer, because they like R&B, and they like jazz fusion and stuff that like helps kind of influence sometimes the style. So it's not a stretch. It's a cool song. It's kind of has these kind of big holes in the verses, and I played a little bit on the game a little bit, but I flipped it, just kind of trying to be creative.
And then there was two songs on this record, and I was curious if they're about anybody. You don't have to even say who they're about if you don't want to, but one was It's a Buzzkill, and the other one was Bottom Feeder. It seemed like those were aimed at someone.
Well, they're probably always aimed at somebody. I just can't reveal who it is.
Okay.
No. I mean, Buzzkill, we had the title and we thought it was cool, but I didn't want to just write, an obvious logical song lyrically about like, it's a buzzkill, man, because, I was high and now it's a buzz. I wanted it to kind of do something with it. So I thought, okay, if you're in a like budding romance and it feels like it's going good, and then somebody kind of ends it, then that's a buzzkill, right? So I was trying to like play a little bit more on the lyrics than the obvious thing. So it was kind of more slightly, it's not about anyone in particular, but it's kind of based on that. And then Bottom Feeders is kind of funny. Like during COVID, all these, it's a big thing here in Southern California. I don't know about in the Midwest, probably here and there, these like street takeovers. And a bunch of guys will get these cars and they'll get, put out this social media press release of, we're going to be at this intersection. You guys come and we're going to surround the neighborhood, and we're going to do donuts and drive like maniacs and endanger people. Yeah. And people have gotten hurt and killed actually at some of them. And it was crazy because we could hear it from our backyard, because for some reason Fairfax and Pico was an area that they wanted to take over consistently, which is like around the corner from my house here. And you would hear it because we'd be in the backyard eating it, and you hear the sound, and it's hearing burning rubber. I'm sure people are race car fans, they hear that, but it's a crazy, weird sound that kind of gets into your spine, and it makes you kind of uncomfortable. When you hear this, like, it was weird. So, it was just, it kind of, I don't know, of course, that kind of stuff, it gets into me, and then I'm like, I got to write about it. So I wrote about it slightly negatively towards these people who I think are, kind of doing things that are probably fun. And I'm trying to like go, okay, I get it. This is fun. Doing donuts, driving like a maniac, filming it. I'm not that old to say, I could see how it's fun, but it's also really dangerous. And maybe you should do it in a place where it's kind of open and like, there's not a bunch of people watching who can get hit by a rim that flies off and kills them, which happens. So that kind of is where that song originated, and then it kind of grew from there a little bit. But it's a cool song. It has almost like this Rammstein militant kind of feel to it, which was very different for Armored Saint.
And one of the other songs I wanted to ask you about too, obviously "Hit a Moonshot's been out for a little bit, but one song which I have a little bit of an issue with is the song "Buckeye."
Why? Because you're from Michigan, or you're from New York, technically.
Well, I've been here in Michigan more than half of my life, so I kind of consider myself a Michigander. So it's over 30 years. So yeah.
Yes. Well, don't take it personal. Anybody in the Midwest. That song is very personal. Actually, it was about when my daughter actually chose to go to college, and she ended up going to a school called Kenyon, which is in Ohio. So that was the reason why I kind of said, okay, let me tackle this, emotion that's happening here with me, and because it's like it was some jubilation of like she achieved going to college, and I'm sad she's leaving, and I'm kind of have some anxiety and various emotions. The song is really cool. It has almost like a Zeppelin feel to it at times, and has a rad slide guitar solo that Jeff did, and I just wanted to equate something with the state of Ohio, so because that's where she went. So the tree is famous, and hence the name, and there's the Ohio State Buckeyes and blah 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 blah. But yes, don't take it, don't hate on it because you're from Michigan or Illinois or Indiana or Pennsylvania.
Well, I think it's the Ohio Michigan thing that
Of course.
I don't know if you know this, but when we play them in football in college, they will cross off every letter M on whatever it is. It's like they won't even use the word or the letter M. That's how bad it gets.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, we're obviously big sports fans and we talk about it often, but, I love that kind of stuff when it's at least not done in some kind of like, I don't know, hateful way, or although sometimes, what are you going to do? I mean, you might, stuff gets hostile.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your daughter, and obviously your son. He's still back with you, and he plays hockey and whatnot. My kids don't give a crap really about what I do, or at least they don't show me. Do you play this stuff for them, or do they ever listen to Armored Saint stuff? Do you ever run anything by them, or say, hey, what do you think about this?
I mean, I certainly played the song Buckeye for my daughter when we finished the demo of it. And me and my wife and her listened, and, there was some tears shed. It was cool. It was a really emotional moment to, write this song. And, it had a lot of different vibes to it. So certainly did that. My son used to be more into what Armored Saint did. As a matter of fact, in his when he was a little tiny 4-year-old, 5-year-old, he came out on stage and with a fake guitar, and he actually sang Can You Deliver with me. And it was pretty awesome, and he was really into it. And then eventually something happened, and he just kind of lost interest. So, whatever, it's all good. I mean, he, obviously is a sports fan. He plays hockey. We discuss it all the time. Your son does too, and you do too. And it's anything that you're just passionate about. I think that's the key. That's what I really want for my kids, and for myself, is to just be into it. You're just passionate, and then music fans are, especially metalheads. I mean, man, they're so passionate that they will bluntly tell you that this is terrible. I don't like it, especially in Europe. The new album, John. Yes, I bought it. Okay, what do you think? I do not like it as much as the last one. That's my German accent right there. But they're always just like, you're like, okay, well, all right, cool. But like anybody who's passionate about anything in sports and music, I feel like there's a lot of correlations. They're into it, and that as long as you're diehard about something, I think that's the important thing. You just don't want to be some kind of ambivalent person. That's just that's no fun.
Brought to you by the Capital One Savor Card. With Savor, you earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining, entertainment, and at grocery stores. That's unlimited cash back on ordering takeout from home, or unlimited cash back on tickets to concerts and games. So grab a bite, grab a seat, and earn unlimited 3% cash back with the Savor Card. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times. Like, I always let my kids to, discover what they wanted to like. So, my daughter's a country music fan, and I don't know, my son, I saw him play baseball yesterday and all this other stuff. So, how much was left on the floor? How much do you have for another record, or did you guys use it all up?
Good question. We had about three other songs that we demoed. I don't know why those didn't make it. I guess, I guess we didn't feel they were as good, realistically, I guess, in all honesty, or maybe they didn't fit. We had this cool kind of ballad thing, but I feel like we've done that on the last couple records, and it was sounding a little similar. So I was like, let's not do that on this album. So, and Joey agreed. But yeah, there's a couple things, maybe they'll rear their head on I don't know, people don't. They used to be the singles and 45s and, it's not quite like that anymore, but maybe we'll do something like that. Actually, Metal Blade did for the European release of the version of the record. They included the song "One Chain Don't Make No Prison" that we put out about a year and a half, 2 years ago, which is a cover of the Four Top song, and we made a video for it and everything. And they put that on a 45, but it was only for Europe. And it was really cool, actually, because we were signing a bunch of records because we were just there, and it kept falling out because some 45 people held up, so they dropped it. But it was really cool. So, I mean, we could do something like that. I don't know yet what, but yeah, it's hard when you leave over tracks and then you come back whenever you're ready to make another record. Usually you listen to those songs again and go, well, maybe there's a reason we didn't use them,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've done that before too. Left something recorded, like not music, obviously, and then you come back to it, you're like, not sure if that's great. Redo that. But yeah. Sometimes time will do that. But yeah, the record is out. Emotion Factory Reset right now. 48 minutes of The Saint, and man, just killer record, killer artwork, by the way, too. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was cool. I guess we were getting some people that were saying he was a legitimate artist. I think there is some AI stuff in there as far as digital things, but he was a true artist. The guy who did it, his name was D.D. King, European dude. And I actually might be from England. I don't remember, but in any case, I like the idea. We were like talking, and we wanted a night. I was like, okay, granted, Armored Saint, the night, we got it, but my whole thing was like, well, it's got to be different, though. We can't, like, number one is the cover of March of the Saint is such an iconic cover for us that nothing is going to be the same as that. It was just amazing, and the way it all kind of happened. So, and we've done a couple things in conjunction with t-shirts, blah, blah, blah. But so we had the title, and then the idea of like kind of combining this industrial world with this kind of like, when you think of the night, you think medieval times, obviously pre-industrial, part of society or whatever. And combining those, I thought was kind of cool, although it doesn't really make sense because I guess you could think of hockey players in a sense. Well, there is the Golden Knights, right? So, some of these warriors or military guys, they're kind of modern knights to some degree. So, they're modern, but, I like the idea of this kind of industrial background with the factory and with this night. It kind of just, like I said, it kind of encompasses two different times. And so I thought that was kind of creative and different.
Yeah, I love the darkness of it. It has a certain vibe to it, too. And I don't mean that negatively. I just love that kind of vibe.
Album covers are fun, and you want to have this really cool and creative album cover, and the kind of thing that people want to look at, go back to the vinyl thing. There's nothing like vinyl and something to look at, and, it kind of just really brings the music together. So it always has. And, that to me is why I love still buying records.
So we just talked before we start, or actually when we started about this, the Metal Saint tour coming up here in the fall. What else you got going on for 2026? Anything big during the summer coming up?
Well, we're going to Europe. We're doing about 3 weeks in Europe starting at the end of July. We're doing some dates with some various bands, Metal Church being one. We're doing some dates with Testament, which will be great because, Chuck and Alex are friends of ours. And then we're doing some stuff with a couple of shows with Sabotage, which will be cool because they were a great band back in the day that kind of still continued on in Europe and were really big in Europe, but didn't quite have the same status in America. But great band, incredible band. And then Nevermore, which is another band that Worrell was the original singer, passed away, but they have a new guy who apparently sounds great. And so we're doing some shows with those bands in various places. Poland, Sweden, And then we're doing a slew of festivals as where we're playing the Alcatraz Festival, which I always get excited about when we play because they have it's connected to this like big basketball court. So every time I go there, the first thing I do is I find a ball and I start shooting hoops.
That's
It's
your
great.
game, yeah.
At like 9 a.m., I get up there and I go and I start just shooting around. So I will do the same when I go there. But it's a great festival and it's grown. And we're playing Brutal Assault, which is another rad festival in the Czech Republic. It's kind of on these old prison grounds, which are really cool. It's old, it's very old. And so, a combination of these cool shows with these other bands and then some festivals. So it'll be a lot of fun. And then we come back in November and do the dates with Metal Church. I'm sure we got to get back to the Midwest and East Coast. So we have some plans that aren't quite defined yet, but that'll happen in 27.
Okay. I've sat and watched your son play hockey and we've talked about hockey. And I've told this to many a parent out there, but I said, you will never know when you are in the best situation of your son's hockey career or your daughter's until you look back on it and you go, oh, that was a great year. But you don't know really when you're in there because there could be a better year coming. It could be worse, whatever. So looking back on your career, now that you've had 40 plus years, what was like some of your best years and what would you change if you could?
Well, I'm actually pretty accepting of the way my career has gone, quite frankly, and there's certainly been a lot of twists and turns. Um, I guess it's just my own personal thing. I mean, last thing I want to do is like have some hang up or be bitter about anything because that's just what good is that going to do for anybody, right? Let alone me. Never quite got to that certain level of fame, I guess, is a reality that I accept. That being said, I mean, I think I have a great reputation in the heavy metal world. I always, and this isn't what was me, but I always make the joke that probably people will really come to appreciate Armored Saint and John Bush once I'm dead. And I don't, and I mean that. And I'm not saying it like, oh, John, you'll be okay. That's not that, but it's just kind of, I think there's some truth to it, but, yeah, I think I'm pretty accepting of it all. Here we are all these years later, still making really cool, legitimate music and touring and playing. And I'm in my 60s. I think that was the thing we wanted is longevity. And that's the thing that you could probably control to some degree because you can't control fame. I mean, how are you going to, for all the amazing bands out there, so many of them, so many people don't even know about them. And there's a handful of bands that really achieve that level of success that's like insane, right? Metallica, Iron Maiden, whatever. I mean, there's Korn, the System of a Down, whatever. But really for all those bands, there's probably another 100 per band, if not more, that nobody really knows that much about. So, and that's the nature of the music business. And you got to go into it because you love it and you love music, and that should be the primary source. And that's kind of what we did. So I'm pretty accepting. I mean, I was a little bitter because it took us a while to get to Europe. It was a couple bad business decisions in the 80s. So as we kept on doing tours in America with Quiet Riot and Metallica and Saxon and, the Hell on Wheels tour or, with Halloween and Grim Reaper, every one of those tours, we didn't go to Europe. And we were one of the few bands that didn't. And it was pissed me off. And it was a terrible decision by the label. And I was on the cover of Kerrang! Magazine. And I was like, I'm on the cover here. And shouldn't we go to England? And they're like, well, we're concentrating on America. I'm like, I'm on the cover. What do you need? So that was one little thing that in my career I was kind of annoyed about, and I held down to it for a bit. But we've been to Europe a bunch of times since, so I let it go.
Yeah. What year did you actually finally break through?
Well, we didn't actually play on European soil till we played the Dynamo Festival in 1989. So that was like 6 years after our first 3 records and EP came out. So we were way behind at that point. And I mean, look, our music is, I'm proud of being from LA, and we certainly, we were part of the LA scene in the 80s. And even though we sounded a little different, but the reality is, sometimes we sound like a band who were straight out of, Birmingham and England, that is. And for us to not go there all those years, we lost a lot of time. And I really thought, we would have been bigger even in Europe than we were in the States. So we didn't really get a chance to do that. So we were always trying to make up for lost ground. But like I said, we've been to Europe many, many times, and I can't use that as any kind of excuse. It was in the 80s, but it's gone now.
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel any better, I've never been to Europe. So.
Well, dude, you got to go, brother. You got to go. You got to create a tour.
Yeah.
The Meltdown tour.
I had to start a band or something. That's right.
You should.
No, that's
you're
cool,
such a great DJ, and you have such a great voice, and they're cool.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say. So last thing here for you. I know that you did a few of those Anthrax dates last year. I think I heard you talking about this. Is there anything in the future? Would you do that again or something, maybe expand it a little bit or anything like that?
Well, we're doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest. That's actually the last show. That's next weekend, actually, and it's going to be fun. Saints playing the day before, then we're doing the John Bush thing, and it's going to be really cool. It's exciting. I loved my time in Anthrax. We made some really killer records together, and for a long time, that music was kind of, it was gone, basically. And, I never felt too good about it because it was like 12 years of my life. So I didn't want it to just be erased. Yeah. But I get it. I understand, and Anthrax has a new record out. They have a new song, and, they're touring right now in Europe. And so, I get all the logistics behind it. But in terms of actually, like, there was a period of time when those records weren't even available, and it was like, it's hard enough to compete with your own band with the success that they had in the 80s. Can my records, at least that I made with the band, at least be available? Somebody wants to buy one, right? Is that asking too much? And for a while it wasn't, but now they are. And the Megaforce Records re-released them, and it's great. They did some cool packaging, added bonus tracks, what have you, and so it was the right time to do those dates. I did the 3; they were amazing. People were really fired up. Now we're playing Milwaukee Metal Fest. I would like to go to Europe at some point with it because I played many, many tours with Anthrax, not only of Europe, but Japan, South America, and these are all places that I play. So yes, I would like to do that. It has to kind of coincide with, this Armored Saint record, and the timing just has to be right. But I definitely think there'll probably be more shows to happen.
Well, dude, always great talking to you, John. The new record, like I said, Emotion Factory Reset is out right now, and I guess we'll see you here next time you're in Detroit. I'm not sure that's going to be, but... Yeah,
thanks for all the love. You came to my son's game. That was really, really kind of you. I owe coming to one of your beer league games, and I will be there, dude, on the ice, on the glass, pounding for you. Yeah, I want to support you.
You'll be the only one there, and everyone will be like,
that's okay. I'll have the place to myself. And, thanks for all the love. You give us lots of love. Appreciate it.
The record is killer. Make sure you go out and snag that and see these guys when they're out there on tour. John is one of the most incredible metal voices out there. No doubt about that. Once again, Emotion Factory Reset. That's the name of the new record, and it is out right now. Got to thank John for taking the time. I've already got some artist interviews lined up. I haven't done them yet for next week, but keep checking back. And follow, subscribe. Hit me up on socials as well at Meltdown Rocks on Insta and Twitter, and also Meltdown WRF and Meltdown Rocks on Facebook. I've got all sorts of different social medias for different things I do. But what I did want to say before I wrap this up is thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. You can help this podcast grow by giving it a 5-star rating and writing a review on Apple and iTunes. Plus, feel free to subscribe and share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for listening to Talkin' Rock.